To bring in Brad Parscale now, the campaign manager for Trump-Pence 2020. Brad, good morning to you. What's your reaction to, you heard our reporter Mark Meredith there about the mayor issuing this curfew, this civil emergency. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, we've worked with the governor and the mayor. They've been great. They've been very helpful. And look, they're worried about the safety of everyone there, whether it's their citizens or those coming from out of town. And I congratulate him for trying to keep our people safe.
Sure. What the mayor's directive says, I have received information from the Tulsa Police Department and other law enforcement agencies that shows that individuals from organized groups who have been involved in destructive or violent behavior in other states are planning to travel to the city of Tulsa for purposes of causing unrest in and around the rally. Brad, it sounds like you're going to have some company. Are you worried about a confrontation where you've got people who are completely behind the president and then people who would like to stir things up?
You know, I've been here since day one, and I found all Trump supporters to be really, caring, loving people that care about this country. I think you see people coming in, they're trying to disrupt, they're trying to create scenes, they want to make internet moments, they want to do the things we see. I think you saw it in the president's Twitter account yesterday, the tweets he put out. They want that moment where CNN or some other fake news media can try to make it look like a Trump supporter is not a loving and caring person. And I have a great feeling that we're going to see 100,000 MAGA supporters down there just wanting to see this country reopen.
Okay, so Brad, let's talk about some of the polls. The Fox News polls show that Joe Biden is widening his lead over President Trump. I'll read you some of what some of the people that were polled were saying. The biggest motivation to vote for the president, 63% of Biden's supporters said that they're going to vote because they fear that Trump will win. 33% of Trump supporters said they fear Biden will win. Enthusiasm for the candidate. Biden supporters, 31% enthusiastic. Trump supporters, 62% enthusiastic. And then lastly, if they were voting today, they say 50% said Biden, 38% said Trump. Last month, 48% said Biden and 40% said Trump. What's your reaction?
Well, first of all, being in the 2016 campaign, it was close to 150. I don't have the exact number. Public polls came out in the last 6 weeks. I think less than a handful of them showed the president winning. Most states like Michigan, Wisconsin, there was never one public poll that ever said we were winning. And guess what? The president won them. I've always said, and I said this in 2016, the public polling system's broken. We're underpolled. There's a large percentage of Trump supporters that fear, reprisal of someone saying to them, why would you be voting for Trump? And then you look at the enthusiasm gap. The president is going to turn out more voters. People aren't excited for Joe Biden. He's hiding in his basement. He doesn't want to come out. And his handlers can't even let him speak. And I think that's going to continue to show that the president has the right direction for this country, and he's going to win 4 more years. And our internal numbers continue to show the direction towards victory.
Brad, it's been 77 days since Vice President Biden held a press conference. Reporters like myself pay attention to these things. I want to take you, though, to the president's tweet, because you mentioned 2016. The president, then candidate Trump, released a list of his Supreme Court picks, and it was a very successful tactic. Now we have him tweeting that he will release by September 1st a new list of conservative Supreme Court justice nominees. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think this is one of the most important things that people across America need to know. Most likely the president get 1 or 2 more Supreme Court picks in another term. I think this is very crucial for the future of this country. It could support, having a conservative court for another generation. And I think this is extremely important. Americans need to know, for whatever policy and whatever thing they think, one of the most important things the president can do is nominate people to the Supreme Court. And this president's already done 2 great picks. And I hope he can get 2 great picks in his second term as well, and I think it's one of the most important issues, and it's probably one of the most important of our lifetime.
I'm sure you were watching a couple of days ago, Brad, when Joe Biden came out of his basement and went and lambasted the president of the United States for the COVID response. That was not a press conference because reporters were not able to ask anything. Mr. Biden hasn't really presented himself to the press per se, and now I understand that your campaign has asked Rudy Giuliani to come on board and try to get the commission that handles the presidential debates to get more debates.
Yes.
Obviously, you want to present the contrast between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. How would you describe that contrast?
Well, first of all, Steve, I consider our people around the president's staff, I consider his people handlers. So they bring him up on stage, they tell him what to say, and hope to God nobody from press will ask him any questions, so we can actually see what's happening there. But I'll talk about the debates. What we see is them wanting to have debates after voting's already started. We're going to see probably some record mail-in voting, absentee votings this year because of COVID. I would like to see debates earlier. I'd like to see more of them. I'd like the American people to see the president versus Biden without the media filter. And what better way than see him on stage, going mano a mano. And I think that's what America should see, and it should see that this president is as sharp as a tack and ready for 4 more years, and that Biden is, after multiple failed presidents, runs, he's just not all there anymore. And I feel sorry for him, and I hope Jill takes care of him, and we can see him live the rest of his life in peace.
So, Brad, there's censorship on the campaign trail among these social media outlets. Twitter is labeling one of President Trump's tweets manipulated media. Facebook says it's going to censor Trump's 2020 ads for organized hate. You worried about this?
This is actually something I actually have worried about over the years. I think, Ainsley, you know that I've been on your show. I've been all over talking about this. I worry about the Palo Alto Mafia, as I call them. What they feel like is they have a moral obligation because American voters are not smart enough to see how smart they are. They want to use the controls within their tools, the manipulation they can do, and try to filter, change, modify, do anything they can. I mean, there's been hearings about how Google manipulates results to try to get you to think the way they want. Twitter censoring videos and content. Facebook manipulating algorithms. These things continue to be a problem. And last night I tweeted, there's a new rising platform called Parler. It's about free speech. It's about having the opportunity to actually have a real discussion, liberals versus conservatives. Let's have an open discussion without a bunch of people that think they're smarter than us in Northern California telling us how we should speak to each other. And I completely support it, and I continue to hope that we make a transition away from these people. And I think Twitter is one of the worst of all of them. And unfortunately, it's a necessary evil sometimes for elections right now. And I hope over the next few years, and hopefully even by the end of this election, we see a move away from it. Because I think the Palo Alto Mafia is one of the worst things out there.
Well, let me pick up there, Brad. How big is this feud between Silicon Valley and President Trump? And what does that look like if you guys lose in November?
Well, first of all, we're not going to lose in November. That's just not going to happen. We're going to win. The president we haven't even seen him even get started yet on Joe Biden. So as we still got a long ways to go. But look, I think the feud is real. I think certain people, like Zuckerberg at Facebook, has stayed strong and understand the importance of free speech for the most part. He's had to placate certain portions of his staff. But if you look at other companies like Google and Twitter, they have had just completely for their staff just say, okay, we'll do this, because they threaten walkouts, they threaten this, they do this. And they're saying if we are not this liberal controlling system, we won't work here any longer. And I think they have a hard time dealing with free speech when they have such left-wing radicals working inside their company.
Brad, excellent question. Tomorrow at the big rally, I'm sure you'll be in attendance. You going to wear a mask?
Yes. Yes, I will probably be wearing a mask. I will also say this is a much different rally that hasn't really been reported. One of the big things is it's going to have an outer perimeter fence. That's going to allow a much larger amount of people to come. People on the internet's like, the arena is only 20,000. Well, that's not the entire thing. This is more of a festival, like much more looking almost like a convention. Tens of thousands of people will be able to be in attendance, and we're going to have multiple places where the president can speak.
Can't wait. Well, I saw a promo. I think we're going to cover it live tomorrow night. Brad, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thanks,
Thank you for having me.